I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. I'm going to play for you just an incredibly weird and desperate rant by Donald Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, who has just been making the most absurd and bizarre and meritless statements. But here's a statement that she made leading up to Thanksgiving, stating that people should not talk about politics. They should not talk about anything relating to Donald Trump, because if you talked about it at the Thanksgiving table, she says that would be unconstitutional. Let's just play the clip and then let's talk about it afterwards. Play the clip.
Is this? You know what this is? This is all a gamesmanship that has no business in this country. We're paying for it. It shouldn't be. So let's take politics out of this, put America first, which I strongly believe in, which President Trump strongly believes in, and let's move forward. I think the country generally, and I know myself, I am sick and tired of hearing about politics and politicking. It is time to talk about the American people. We are sick and tired of hearing about what side you're on. We're sick and tired of having to do Thanksgiving dinner and having fights with our family. There was a point in this country where that didn't happen. We all sat together, we all were cooperative, and we listened to different perspectives. But at the end of the day, we weren't taking action the way that we are now. It is un-American, it's unconstitutional. I am begging the American people to pay attention, go to the polls, take your chance on whoever it is you believe on, even if it's not the person that you believed in before, because the country is going to hell. That's the truth.
Okay, this is like the ultimate gaslighting 101. In one breath, she says, should not talk about politics at the Thanksgiving table. And by the way, that's something that I think we can agree on, although I can pretty much assure you that the first thing that someone who is a MAGA cult member will say to you, or probably has already said to you at the Thanksgiving table, is probably called you a bunch of names instead of just eating Thanksgiving a meal like we all want to. But then she goes at the end of it, she goes, because our country's going to hell, and basically says the exact opposite of what her message was. But this is part of just a long line of very kind of desperate and weak and bizarre statements being made by, frankly, all of Trump's lawyers here, and being led by Alina Habba. You know, the worst week in Donald Trump's legal history, and that's saying a lot because his entire career has been losing legal cases. But this particular week, we saw Alina Habba in multiple courtrooms losing, and specifically in New York when she appeared before Judge Arthur Engoron, who's presiding over the New York Attorney General civil fraud lawsuit against the Trump organization. And Alina Habba was the lawyer who argued there for Donald Trump. And she basically, the point of her argument was, this is all unfair, this is all unconstitutional. And I got to hand it to the Assistant Attorney General who was doing the argument for the New York AG for Letitia James' office, who was like, all Alina Habba does is show up here and just say statements. It's unconstitutional. It's unfair. We're being persecuted, without any substance. How about, for once, Alina Habba, you provide evidence. You follow the same steps that other litigants follow when they're in a court of law, which is to present declarations, to present affidavits, to present actual legal arguments, versus just yelling at the judge, which is what Alina Habba was doing earlier in the week on Tuesday, just telling the judge how unfair Donald Trump is being treated. And Judge Arthur Engoron said to Alina Habba, look, this is like a broken record. You're just saying the same things you've been saying over and over again, and none of this has merit. I know the law. We've reviewed the law. You're not even making legal arguments that are tethered to the law. You still make the same standing arguments that were rejected previously during the special proceeding. Donald Trump has pled the Fifth Amendment here over 400 times when he was questioned by the New York Attorney General, Letitia James. Let's get the show on the road here. Alina Habba just responded, we're just being treated so unfairly here. And Judge Arthur Engoron set a trial date in the Trump fraud lawsuit that's set to occur on October 2nd or October 3rd of 2023. So in a very short period of time, in less than a year, basically 11 months, Trump's going to trial, which I've said before is a very quick trial date, as quick as I've ever seen it in New York. Not too quick. I know people want it to move quicker. If it moves too quick, then Donald Trump could have an argument to appeal it and say his due process rights were being violated. So the judge said it as quick as you can set it without giving Trump any argument, a year from when the underlying lawsuit was filed by the New York Attorney General's office. But this is what Alina Habba does. This is what Trump's legal team is doing. That's why I was so proud to share here on the MeidasTouch Network the actual Supreme Court oral arguments and to actually pick out the audio clips for you of the key moments. Because you see, when Donald Trump's lawyers went in front of an actual court and started calling, for example, the Department of Justice's a valid search warrant that was executed on Mar-a-Lago, when they were saying we were being raided by the DOJ, the justices jumped in and said, you're calling the execution of a search warrant a raid? Isn't it the execution of a search warrant? And then Trump's lawyer fumbled and said, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, it was the execution of a search warrant. Because you don't get away with all of the BS and lies and gaslighting that occurs on right-wing MAGA extremist media. Look, I was hopeful, and I remain hopeful, that on future Thanksgiving table dinners that we are not actually talking about politics, that we can agree on a shared humanity, on a shared decency, on a shared compassion. But one of the problems that exist is that MAGA extremists do not believe that all human beings are equal. And they want to treat human beings like second-class citizens. And then they argue that Democrats and pro-democracy individuals and the coalition of former Republicans, that you are all talking about politics and you're being political and you're trying to cancel us when you are saying to us that we shouldn't make these statements. Well, when the statements that you are making are hateful, are racist, are derogatory, and are threatening, it is not cancel culture to be critical of that. And when you try to inject that hate into our lives, we are going to call it out. That shouldn't be political, yet that is what we see time and time again, that there is a political party, a MAGA extremist Republican political party that just wants to continue to spread hate over and over again. We look forward to just focusing on normalcy, to focusing on pro-democracy, to focusing on shared values. That is what we're talking about here on the MeidasTouch Network, and that is what we want to focus on, and we will continue to focus on. None of this gaslighting from these MAGA extremists. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button right now. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your support, and also consider becoming a patron of the MeidasTouch Network by going to patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. There's lots of exclusive content there, but most importantly, you could help grow this independent media platform. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Until next time.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.